I have a great guest today. I'm so excited to introduce Paula York, MLS. She is the laboratory manager at Sullivan County Community Hospital located in beautiful, non-urban Sullivan, Indiana. Hello, Paula.
Hello, Jane.
And you have long been one of my favorite leaders from the time you were a brand new leader. Did you ever work the bench in your own lab, or were you hired in as the leader?
I did. I actually worked here back in 2012 as a bench tech. So,
Oh, okay. Okay. Cool. I would have thought you were in kindergarten in 2012, but all right. So I don't know about you, Paula, but I found in my leadership that leaders, especially new leaders, new to the job, or potentially those like we do in healthcare, we promote our best tech, promote our best accountant, promote our best nurse from the job to a leadership position. We do that because you're high performing tech, most likely, right? And have leadership abilities. Well, then what happens is that leaders, and you can be an old leader, you don't have to be a new leader to do this. Leaders tend to just expect high standards to happen magically because they're high performing and they behave and contribute and perform at work. It's just normal behavior for them. Why isn't it normal behavior for everybody else? So what never happens is we don't, as leaders set the expectations and put them in writing, set these high standards and hold people accountable to them. But most importantly, what we really don't do is ask others for input. Ask the people that you serve, the people that are that report to you in your lab, what standards do we need for our lab? What standards do we need to communicate with each other? What standards do we need to take great care of patients and their families? And what standards, do we need to behave most of all? What are the behavioral expectations? So asking them, because research has told us that when people have a stake, right? When you include key stakeholders in creating these standards, then they feel valued, they feel engaged, and guess what? They own it. They own it. So how people communicate with each other, how people communicate and behave towards patients and their families, how they communicate and behave towards other departments, it all gets better that much faster. It's not just on your shoulders, right? Everybody owns it. So when I asked your CEO and a fellow leader, Amy Pirtle, extraordinary rock star, like who's the human at Sullivan County Community Hospital who does this, who lives it? And they all said, Paula York, Paula York. So the big thing is we got to do with people rather than just to people. And what I love about you, and this just tells me that it's your value as a leader, when I initially emailed you to say, hey, I would like to talk about your department in this way, your response was, let me talk to my staff and see what ideas they have for me to talk about. Right? That's the first response you had. So guess what? Yes, you are that leader. So tell me, what are the dramatic differences now in your department before setting high standards for communication and service?
for communication, since I was rated as a level 2 leader, and it kind of, hurt me a little bit because I felt like I did a good job. I did take it seriously and I did implement a lot of things to hopefully increase that and make the employees know that I care. So when I started, I was only doing one lab meeting a month. And if they could attend, then great. If they couldn't, well, too bad. You can just read the minutes.
Mhm.
But then I started thinking, okay, we are a lab that is staffed 24/7 and we have 25 people. It is so hard to communicate with everyone. So I did, tell them that communication is very important. And so by setting that expectation that they are required to read their emails in an event that I have something that needs to be done right now, Also, lab meetings, I changed that and I chose to do several lab meetings during the day so we could split staff up into smaller groups, and then also have one for the evening and night shift. So I could get kind of a group rounding session, get everybody's feedback. And they also, throughout the month, they'll send me ideas like, hey, can you present this at the lab meeting? I feel like it's very important. Um, our department, I don't feel like has a issue with communication now because we hold each other accountable. We're very respectful towards one another. That is what I've personally seen in the last 5 years that has been a big improvement for us.
So you, what Paul is referring to is a Press Ganey employee engagement survey that was given last fall, and your department, not you. Remember we talked about this. Your department was rated as a tier 2. Tier 1's the best. Tier 3 is not so hot. Tier 2 is you've got things to work on, and communication was one of them. So tell me how you incorporate managing up and service recovery. You set really high standards for communication, but then you called it a LERF. Like, what the heck is that?
Yeah, we implemented a lab error reporting form. So
Mhm.
we call it a LERF. And it's not a tattletale system. It's basically taking ownership of, hey, this person made a mistake on this day, but they're not here today. So we are going to fix this mistake. Um, if a patient needs to be called back, we have one centralized location for these LERFs. So if someone takes a phone call, we know immediately where to go. We can read what happened. In the event the patient comes in, a couple days later, we grab that form, and on there's a section for service recovery. So we stop and think, oh, this patient had to come back. So we might want to utilize some service recovery out of our kit. We can give the patient a gas card because gas not cheap. So we want
Yeah.
to tell them, show them that we really care and it was an accident and that we are sincere about this.
That is so cool. So, you also mentioned, to like kind of reframe the communication in your department positively, that you really use managing up quite a bit.
Yeah. Since we have so many employees working, we're all bunched together, and one of us may be walking down the hall and we'll bring that patient in, and I'll have an employee in there and they will say, hey, I can take care of that patient since you're in the middle of something else. And we use that opportunity to stop and say, hey, this employee has been here for several years. They've been a phlebotomist for this many years. They are going to take great care of you. And we try to incorporate this as well for other departments whenever a patient has multiple services and we walk them down the hall to radiology. We say, hi, this is so and so from radiology. They are going to take great care of you. Have a wonderful day. It's just opening up that communication for not just the lab, but other departments as well.
Nice. Lovely. You know what I also really love that you took so seriously in, your department being rated a tier 2, and how you used standards to really elevate that. I bet you can't wait for November when there's another survey.
No, I'm excited.
You're gonna rock it. So, one of your pride values, or what we refer to as standards of behavior, is the R is for respect. Tell our audience how you decided to carry out respect in your department.
Um, when I was first hired on, I was informed, hey, you probably shouldn't train out in the lab because then it may be expected to have to work out there all the time. And I kindly said, I just don't agree with that because I don't feel that I can manage a lab and tell people what to do and do their evaluations on them if I don't know how to do the job myself. So I started and I trained on all the shifts, all the departments. And I feel that I really earned the respect of the employees. And I mean, I call them my coworkers because a lot of times we do work side by side together. And they really respect me and I really respect them because I would not ask them to do something that I would not do myself.
That is amazing. Good for you. And just calling someone a coworker. I mean, it seems subtle, But instead of I have ownership of these people because they are my employees, instead they are my coworkers, so that you're all expected. This is how we care around here. This is how we behave around here. This is how we perform around here. And this is how we communicate with each other. And end of story. So, well, I have no doubt that because of your implementation of the high standards for service and the positive communication standards, that you're going to rock your survey.
I hope
Thank
so.
you so much.
Thank you.
So if you want what Paula has, go to our website, www.positivecommunication. Nope. capstoneleadership.net. Push the button, book a call. We would love to hear from you, the struggles that you're having, and how setting high standards for both behavior and communication can rock their world too.